So you're thinking about switching brokerages and you want to learn all there is to know about eXp Realty. Well, today I am here going to interview Sean Sturrock. Sean has been with eXp Realty for 6 years. He is also a Freedom Team leader. He had 25 years of corporate experience before getting into the real estate industry, and you're not going to want to miss his story because 2 weeks into becoming a new agent, he saw massive success. And I cannot wait for you to hear his story. So let's get to it. Hi, Sean.
Hello, how are you, Aileen?
Good. So you just, you were, when we were talking earlier, I mean, you came over as a brand new agent. You started doing some flips, and you really only knew about a dozen realtors.
Yes.
But you did happen to know some
of
really
the right
big ones. So let's talk about Jay Nelson, because Jay Nelson is, he is one of the top agents at our brokerage.
Yes.
He sells a lot of real estate, but he is he's been a phenomenal attractor. He's got a lot of energy.
Yeah.
A really positive person. We'll give you the shirt off his back.
Yeah.
Him and Ashley have helped thousands of agents, literally, including myself. And so tell me the story about bringing him on, because, but when my sponsor Tim brought eXp to me in December of 2017, I had never heard of it.
Yeah.
And Jay Nelson was also another former RE/MAX agent, also another former broker owner of RE/MAX.
Yeah.
Huge agent in the Nashville market. And so he kind of had a similar response to you that I had to Tim when Tim tried to bring it to me.
Yeah.
But I had respect for Tim, so I did take a look at it, and same thing with Jay. But tell everybody about the story of bringing Jay Nelson on, because he's one of those hinge players, along with Rob and Gene and a handful of other hinge players that have come to the company that have just helped exploded it. And he's one of those key people.
Yeah.
So
Jay and I were friends, and Ashley and stuff were friends, and we had done a previous business, he and I, years earlier. They'd done some things, so our relationship was pretty tight, and because of some success I had in a previous business with I think is the reason he gave me the time of day. Anyway, long story short, I called Jay, and I did not know how big a producer he was in real estate until I connected with him. We began a dialogue. And I remember him saying, Sean, I've been at RE/MAX for 13 years. I love it. I bleed blue. It's my entire family. It's changed my life. He said, I was 1,000 houses sold, rookie of the year. He's giving me these credentials, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how big a player he was. He was doing 20 to 25 million in production with a part-time assistant. Yeah, the guy's an animal. But anyway, long story short, I just kept saying, man, will you do me a favor? I'd had my license, you guys, for 2 weeks.
And Jay was doing 20, 25 million back when the average sales price, 6 years ago was completely different than it is now.
55, 65 transactions a year.
Yeah, now that number doesn't shock you, but if you put it in perspective of the time frame, they were really good numbers. And of course, he's blown his real estate business up as well. But anyway, I wanted to clarify that, because he was in that time frame of 2017 a major player.
Exactly. So to set this up, because it really is an incredible story, and I'm indebted to he and Ashley forever. That was, I think, 90% of the reason I'm having success is because he came on board, and here's why I say that. So when I found out his production, the numbers he was doing, all that kind of stuff, it took me. It was about a 45-minute phone call before I could get Jay on a webinar. He just kept asking me questions. I'm like, no, Jay, it's a great question. I do my best to answer it. But it's all going to be on the webinar. He finally gets on, but before getting on the webinar, I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, Sean, I'm going to be upfront with you. You've got a 1 in 1,000 chance of ever showing me anything I haven't already been aware of or seen. He goes, I'm not trying to brag or boast. I'm called almost every day. Someone's trying to market something.
Right.
So, yeah, man, I totally get it. I respect you. You do me a favor. Look at this thing, shoot some holes in it. Am I making the right choice to hang my license here? He gets on the webinar that night. It was 4 o'clock, and Rob Flick was doing the webinar. Jay watches it at 4. Completely blown away. Right after the webinar's over, he's in Nashville, I'm in Dallas. Jay calls me after the webinar and says immediately on the phone to me, goes, Sean, that was the most brilliant brokerage model I've ever seen in my life. He goes, I knew somebody would figure it out. Then he began to kind of sell me. I'd had my license, you guys, for 2 weeks. I hadn't sold a house yet. And he looked at me, and some keywords that stuck with me forever. He goes, you know what they've done? I'm like, what do you mean, what have they done? He goes, Sean, they've taken the model and they flipped it on its head. Instead of making the agent the last one paid, they made him the first one paid. You guys, he saw it at 4 o'clock. 6 o'clock, he shows his beautiful wife, Ashley. 8 o'clock, I have him on a 3-way call with Rob Flick. At 10 o'clock, he signed up day one. Was never gonna leave RE/MAX. I say that to go, guys, my confidence spiked. I'm like, here's a mega producer that loved what he did and where he was at, and he pulled the trigger like that. And because of that, and because Jay has so much influence and so many contacts, I don't know the number, but I bet within 2 months, 10 people had joined him. Well, understanding our model, that had a massive impact on my family and I. The moment I opened up that second tier, I was making an extra $35,000, $40,000 a year in passive income just from what Jay did in 60 days. So all of a sudden I began to go, oh my gosh, this is incredible what this could do for agents with the stock and everything. And I just say that to go, I kind of shifted my focus going, I'm not going to continue to risk trying to learn more about flipping houses and rental properties if everything here is at eXp and I can get paid multiple ways without any out of pocket and there isn't much risk. So I said, you know what, let me put more of a focus on this. I began to build in that very first year. Very fortunate. I just had about 16 agents join me frontline that I brought, and Jay was one of them. By the time I looked up a year later, there was 400 agents on my team. My whole life completely changed. It went well up over multiple 5-figure a month, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I saw things begin to shift and go, what can I do to help all these other agents have the experience that I have? So I began to, with Jay's help, and a bunch of us got together and went, for those who want to, let's give them this other opportunity. Let's all begin to teach them how they can build a group that can truly create passive income and change people's lives in a big way, because the stock's a given. As if there's one thing I always say I love about eXp, you come over here and you sell houses like any brokerage, you get paid, but you also get stock. Sell a house, get paid, you just get stock. House, at some point in time, this little stock piece over here, I've got hundreds of agents on the team now that have 100, 300, 500, I have several went over 7 figures in stock. You're a big icon agent, Aileen, so you've been here for 5 years. You've got to be, if this stuff goes back where it was, which we keep talking about the next couple, we hope it stays where it's at now, the stock price, but so you're going to do phenomenal.
Yeah.
So anyway, I say all that to go, we found ourselves about 4 years into this. There was about 1,500 of us, around the country, and I think we were probably in 2 or 3 other countries. And with Jay and several other people, we all came together and go, what can we do to take this to a whole nother level? And we formed what's called the Freedom Team. And there's 6 of us that are kind of leadership. And trust me, I'm the least of the leaders on this team, as in I'm surrounded with people that 2 of them own brokerages that rolled their brokerages in. One guy flipped 350 houses in a year. Stephanie is probably top 1% of the world with real estate, land developer, multi-millionaire. So I say all that to go, how blessed I am to have these 5 other leaders with me. We formed this Freedom Team, and now the whole focus has been shifted to going, how much value can we add to our agents? Agents that are looking to potentially come to eXp, we've got masterminds that go Monday through Thursday. We're plugging everybody in, helping everybody grow their production, plugging in for those who want to build a revenue share type team. We have separate classes for that, and there's all different ways to attract. There's just so many different avenues that are over here at eXp where an agent can come over. Here's what I always say when I'm sharing with another agent. I say this respectfully and sincerely. I'll say, knowing, especially if you've been in real estate 10 years, 15 years, whatever, I'm like, if you stay where you're at for 5 more years and keep doing what you're doing, what does life look like 5 years from now? And you know probably the answer to that. You doing this 20, not much different than it did 5 years previous. I said, you come over to eXp and you're here for 5 years, let's compare the two, because there is no comparison. If you're gonna be selling real estate and you're trying to treat that as a full-time career and grow it, there's not a model like this.
No.
I've got so many agents whose whole lives have changed in 5 years. I'll give you 1 or 2 stories, which I find, and I'll keep last names out of it so people don't turn around and call them, even though we've already mentioned a couple. But I have a lady in Dallas, Nicole, been in real estate probably 18 to 19 years. She was, when I contacted her, she'd been at KW for about 6 years, loved it, and she was doing about 12 million. So she was a big producer, doing about 35 to 40 transactions. So I knew she would qualify for Icon. And after Nicole joined, she told me this later. She goes, Sean, you were halfway through the presentation and we were on the stock piece. And she, in the back of her mind, was going, okay, I'd be crazy not to come try this. Because here's what I try to tell people, this is so true. Come over here, and you've heard so much about eXp. Come give it a shot. Give it everything you got for 12 months. If it doesn't work out, you can probably go right back to your broker and negotiate a better split, or go to probably any brokerage, right, that would take you. But I say all that to go, Nicole came over here, put her head down, began to go to work. You guys, she's been here now 5 years. For the next 4 years, she went 13 million, 15 million, 18 million, 23 million. Production grew all 4 years. Her stock accumulated to well over $500,000. She had about, without even trying, she had about 14 or 15 people in her rev share group because people would contact her. She was a big producer. She's making $2,000 to $3,000 a month over there. She did exactly what we keep telling everybody. You come over here and go to work for 4 to 5 years, you'll look up 4 to 5 years into it, and at minimum, you'll have options. What was Nicole's option? I don't know how old Nicole is. I'm going to say late 40s, probably, maybe early 50s. Nicole, last year, purposely pulled back the throttle off her $23 million in production, purposely did around $7 million, which she could do in her sleep, right? She's beginning to turn most of her buyers and stuff, unless it's really close family or really close clients, she turns them over to people on her team, does a 25-75 split. She went from working 50 to 60-hour weeks. She now works 20 to 25 hours a week, spends time with her grandchildren, travels with her family, all because this model got her out of, at least retired her 10 years earlier. She's gonna keep selling real estate, she said, for probably 3 or 4 more years just to accumulate the stock. And her and her husband are gonna ride off into the sunset, and it would have never happened had it not been for eXp.